And under this scenario, Obama is right on the cusp, but not quite there. If he does win the state of Florida, he then crosses the finish line. However, if you turn around and give Florida to John McCain, then he closes much of the gap and is well on his way to a possible comeback if he runs the table on all of the other states. And that's why Florida is so critical to this race. Let's begin with inflation and job cuts. Energy crisis this year has a lot in common with 1980 when Governor Reagan won on change. You've stressed your differences, of course, with Reaganomics, but how? Or do you differ with the philosophy of President Carter, which voters rejected some 28 years ago? As you well know, the military maintains a key training ground in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and the U.S. Department of Defense says expanding drilling to those waters would compromise military testing and training. Is the Department of Defense right or wrong? You support a national cat fund that could help bring down Florida's soaring home insurance rates, but given the cost and given our debt situation and the fact that congressmen from the Southeast are greatly outnumbered by lawmakers in landlocked states, how can you possibly get Congress to go along with this?
Spending get completely out of control.
Your current and former advisors, from John Weaver to Lindsey Graham, say your own campaign last year was a mess, that you let spending get out of control, that you could not match spending, did not know how much money was coming in, and basically hit a wall. So if your critics and friends say you had so much trouble managing money just last year, how do you assure us that you can manage the entire U.S. economy next year? If you had to choose, would you say that generally your views are more in line with the DNC chaired by Howard Dean or the moderate DLC currently chaired by Harold Ford? It's just not looking good at this point for John McCain, and that's because Barack Obama is dominating in the New England states and the Middle Atlantic states as well. John McCain was desperately trying to pick off the state of Pennsylvania. He did not do that, in large part because he just got wiped out in Philadelphia to the east and in Pittsburgh to the southwest. That's a very, very tough blow for John McCain. And then just to the west of Pennsylvania, we may have the knockout blow for John McCain in the state of Ohio, which we are now projecting for Barack Obama. North has a strong military influence. McCain has some roots here. It is delivering strongly and will continue to for John McCain. Meanwhile, the South, that's Dade, Broward, Palm Beach counties. This is a Democratic stronghold, delivering very big for Barack Obama. Guess what? The I-4 corridor from Tampa to Orlando will tip the balance. Again, so much early voting, the exit polling showing that it strongly favored the Democrats. And remember, Governor Charlie Crist extended early voting after he saw all the lines, said it was just the right thing to do. So we have a case of a Republican governor making a decision in the state of Florida that could definitely favor Barack Obama. Very interesting. Obama's actually making some inroads in the South, not just in Florida, but also in Virginia and North Carolina as well. One of the reasons why? The Beltway effect. Certainly in Virginia, the population cluster on the eastern third of the state. This section of Virginia delivering very big, according to the polls, for Barack Obama. So it's going to be a turnout game in Virginia for the most part, North Carolina as well. And with that in mind, there are a couple of states in this nation that are expecting some rough weather tomorrow. That happens to be Virginia and North Carolina. That could tamp down turnout, which could have an interesting effect on those states. Again, key toss-ups there, as is the one we've been talking about all along, Ohio. Mathematically, this is a must-win for John McCain. And the Republican Party has had a pretty good, strong ground game in this state for election cycle after election cycle. But voters in this state are voting primarily based on the economy. And polls are showing, particularly in this state, that Barack Obama has the edge when it comes to pocketbook issues.